The day the glass elevator stalled 40 floors above the city, the most powerful woman in the building found herself staring at her own reflection and wondering how someone could be so visible to the world, yet so completely invisible to love. Outside the walls of steel and glass, headlines praised her brilliance, investors worshipped her decisions, and employees whispered her name with awe. Inside, balanced on one leg and a lifetime of discipline, she carried a loneliness so heavy it felt louder than the emergency alarm echoing faintly in the distance. Before the story goes any further, take a moment. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the idea that even the most broken paths can lead to something beautiful, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that are still waiting to be healed. Her name was Elena Cross, a self-made CEO who had built a global technology empire from a rented room and a second-hand laptop. What most people didn't know or pretended not to see was the titanium prosthetic hidden beneath tailored suits and polished confidence. She had lost her leg at 19 in a highway accident that also took her parents. In a single night, her future was rewritten, stripping away not just flesh and bone, but the simple belief that life would be gentle. She learned quickly that the world admired strength only when it was quiet and efficient, so she trained herself to walk without a limp, to smile without cracks, and to lead without ever asking for help. The boardrooms respected her, but they never invited her into warmth. The charity galas praised her donations but seated her alone. Even relationships, when she dared to try, dissolved under the weight of unspoken discomfort. Men admired her power until they realized they would have to slow their pace to match hers, physically and emotionally. Elena told herself she preferred it this way. Control was safer than hope. Solitude was cleaner than rejection. Her days followed a ruthless rhythm of early mornings, back-to-back meetings, and late-night work beneath city lights. Pain flared in her residual limb when she overworked, but she swallowed it like everything else. At night, when the apartment was silent, she removed the prosthetic and sat by the window, staring at the glow of traffic below, feeling unfinished. Success had given her everything except someone to share the quiet with. Change arrived not with drama, but with inconvenience. A corporate restructuring forced her company to outsource maintenance and facilities management. On a rainy Monday, as she navigated the lobby with practiced precision, she noticed a man kneeling near a spill, carefully placing caution signs, while a small boy sat nearby coloring in a worn notebook. The scene was ordinary, almost invisible, yet something about the patience in his movements slowed her steps. The man worked like time wasn't chasing him, and the child watched with complete trust. The man's name was Daniel Reyes, a single father juggling 2 jobs after his wife died from illness 3 years earlier. He cleaned offices at night and handled daytime maintenance contracts so he could be present for his son whenever possible. His world was smaller than Elena's, but fuller in ways money could never replicate. He had learned to carry grief without bitterness, to show up even when exhausted, and to find meaning in simply being there. Their lives brushed against each other in quiet ways at first. Elena noticed that the floors near her office were always spotless by morning. Daniel noticed that the CEO never took the stairs, not out of laziness, but necessity. He noticed how she paused before standing after long meetings, gathering strength she didn't want anyone to see. Neither said anything. Respect grew silently. One evening, a sudden power outage trapped several employees inside the building. Elena remained calm, guiding people towards safety. But as the emergency stretched on, the strain on her body became visible. Daniel, staying late to finish a repair, noticed her standing alone, shoulders tight, jaw clenched against pain. Without pity, without words, he pulled over a chair and placed it beside her, then returned to his work. That simple act, offered without spectacle, cracked something inside her that years of applause never had. From that night on, Elena began to notice how different he was from everyone else around her. He never stared at her leg. He never treated her like a symbol. When they crossed paths, his nod carried the same respect he gave everyone, no more, no less. Slowly, circumstances pushed them into longer moments together. A broken elevator, a delayed meeting, a rainy afternoon when the boy waited in the lobby and Elena found herself sitting nearby, listening to his laughter echo against marble walls that had never known warmth. For the first time in years, Elena felt herself exhale around someone. Daniel spoke about ordinary things, about school projects and broken appliances, about the challenge of balancing responsibility and hope. He didn't know her wealth. He knew her as a woman navigating the world with resilience he recognized because he lived it too. In his presence, she didn't have to perform strength. It existed naturally. Still, fear clung to her like a shadow. She had built her life on self-reliance, and opening a door to connection felt like inviting loss all over again. She questioned his motives, her worth, the inevitability of disappointment. When business pressures mounted and a risky acquisition threatened the company's future, she retreated into old habits, cutting herself off from everything human. Daniel noticed the distance, not with accusation but concern. He understood walls built from survival. Instead of pushing, he simply remained consistent, greeting her the same way, showing up the same way, reminding her through action that not everyone leaves when things get hard. The crisis came when Elena collapsed during a company event, her prosthetic causing a fall that sent shockwaves through the room. Cameras flashed, whispers spread, and the mask she had worn so carefully finally slipped. Humiliated and shaken, she withdrew from public view, convinced that vulnerability had cost her credibility. In the days that followed, while executives debated strategy and public relations, Daniel showed up at her apartment building with groceries he wasn't sure she'd accept. He didn't offer solutions or speeches. He sat nearby while she struggled through frustration and shame, reminding her presence didn't require perfection. For the first time since her accident, Elena allowed herself to be seen not as a leader, not as an inspiration, but as a woman in pain. Healing didn't come all at once. It came in small moments. Shared meals, quiet walks where pace didn't matter, laughter that surprised her with its ease. Daniel's son grew comfortable around her, seeing not a CEO but someone who listened and cared. Through them, Elena rediscovered parts of herself she had buried beneath ambition. As the company stabilized and her confidence returned, it was different this time. Success no longer stood alone. She learned that strength didn't disappear when shared, it multiplied. Standing beside someone who understood struggle without worshiping it changed how she viewed her own story. Just before the end of this story, take a moment to comment below and tell us what part of Elena's journey resonated with you the most. Your words matter more than you think. When Elena finally stood on the stage months later, addressing employees and investors, she didn't hide her leg or her past. She spoke openly about resilience, about the cost of building walls too high, and about the unexpected places where healing begins. In the crowd, Daniel watched quietly, pride steady and unassuming, knowing he hadn't saved her. He had simply walked beside her when she finally chose not to walk alone. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that love doesn't arrive perfectly packaged, and that even the strongest among us deserve companionship, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement keeps stories like this alive, reaching those who believe they are too broken to be loved. In the end, Elena learned that being whole was never about what she lost. It was about what she allowed herself to gain. And sometimes the most powerful love enters quietly, carrying patience instead of promises, and stays long enough to remind us that we were never meant to stand alone.